Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
So today we're going to go to a very small project, probably about a half acre, and we have the goats loaded up in the trailer, and when we get to the project site we'll park for a little bit and we'll use our electric netting, get the electric netting set up around the vegetation that the customer wants taken care of, which on this particular project is primarily honeysuckle. It's a non-native invasive species of honeysuckle, which is really common throughout the Midwest, really, in some of our woodlands. And once we get our fence set up, we'll apply a solar energizer to it and test to make sure we have the voltage we need, get some water out there for the goats, and we'll unload them. And they won't waste any time. They'll go right to it, eating that targeted vegetation. So
honeysuckle is kind of a woody plant. They chew right through it.
They defoliate it, and they take away the softer branch tips. I would say just roughly the last year's growth. The most recent year's growth they take away.
Yep.
But of course they can't eat the trunks and the woodier branches. But over time, if you apply the goats 2 or 3 times in a well-timed fashion, they can weaken the plant enough, because you're taking away all those solar collectors, the leaves that would gather sunlight and produce energy, and you're asking the plant to call in its root reserves to put out new leaves. So that is eventually how we weaken and stress the honeysuckle. But just that first defoliation allows some sunlight to get down to the forest floor where it wasn't before. It thins things out and gives some of our preferred vegetation a chance to take hold. Many of our customers will just hire us to run the goats through as a first pass, because what was a jungle becomes manageable once the goats have passed through. Our goats are primarily Kiko goats. Kiko is a meat goat breed, but with a lot of dairy background. That tends to make them really good mothers, and we're also really pleased with the hardiness of the Kiko breed. And that is one thing we need. We're moving them around, and they're livestock. They're outside without shelter through the summer and with minimal shelter in the winter. So, and some goats struggle with stomach worms, and so we also are looking for goats that are tolerant of stomach worms, can still do well, even with some load of parasites. So yeah, so the Kiko breed is one that we've landed on and we're pretty pleased with. There's some other breeds of meat goat mixed in with our herd, but primarily we're running Kiko goats. I live on an acreage that is only about 3.5 acres, and we really enjoyed the country lifestyle, but after a while it just seemed like it should be a little bit more farm lifestyle. And I have 3 sons who all needed some chores to do in the summer, and had a little bit of pasture that was too big to mow but too small to be of any interest to other farmers. So we got some goats, thinking they'd eat down the pasture and give the kids some chores to do, and we'd buy them in the spring and sell them in the fall, and that would be that. We'd be done with it. But we had some of our own vegetation issues we were dealing with on our property, and once we saw what the goats could do, and we enjoyed the goats so much, we thought, oh, maybe there's some other folks who have a need for this, and maybe there's some other folks who would pay for this service, and could we begin to grow a meat goat herd that was meaningful and actually be involved in agriculture in a significant way. So that was 5 years ago, and here we are now. There's a lot of demand for this service. We have a huge invasive species problem in the Midwest, and land managers are throwing their hands in the air not knowing what to do, and goats are gonna have to be a part of the solution in the future. And so the demand has just been there since day one. We've been amazed at it. We did a project for free for a local park, and thought, well, we'll get some good footage and some photos that first year, and we'll just do it as an experiment and gather some information, and we weren't even planning on making any money that year. And a local news crew came out and filmed the project with people walking by on the trails. It was a really great public setting, and the phone started ringing and hasn't stopped since. Hey, let's go. Here we go now. Hey. Hey, let's go. All right, goats on the go. First off is Brittany.
These have all been together, so they kind of know which one's the leader in this group. And
You can almost tell by the first one on the trailer.
yeah, her name was Brittany. She's been with us a long time. She was my daughter's 4-H goat when we were doing the bottle kid show, and so she's pretty friendly and been around a while. So.
They go right to the honeysuckle.
Yeah, that's their favorite.
That's amazing. They prefer that kind of stuff to grass.
Absolutely.
They don't like to eat grass much?
I mean, they'll eat grass, but if they have lots of choices, it's a pretty small part of their diet.
Wow.
I called these guys because I wanted to hire them to come down and bring their goats down to my property. I've got about 12 acres and most of it's timber, and it's a real steep ravine, and I want to clear it, you know, because there's a lot of poison ivy and a lot of noxious weeds, and I don't want to. And I have a creek running through there that runs into the Raccoon River, and I don't want to have to put a bunch of chemicals down. They said, well, we really need somebody down in your area because there's a lot of demand for this, and so I'm contemplating.
You're exploring it.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm exploring it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating that they've, you have an opportunity to develop with your entrepreneurial spirit and have a business that is sustainable, that's friendly for the environment. It's addressing issues that, people want taken care of on their property to make their property better. Just like the gentleman was just telling us on this property, the goats ate away all the broadleaf weeds and and the noxious weeds on it, and that allowed the grass to grow. And now, a year later, he's got beautiful grass growing, and doesn't have to deal with putting chemicals down to, deal with weeds, especially around his pond area, which I think is really important. And there's something about goats that, I don't know, they're entertaining and they're kind of soothing, and I'm just an animal lover, and I love being out in nature, and this would be a great opportunity as just kind of a side business to be out in nature and making a difference, and making our environment better. Well, they are going to offer a new opportunity to lease their goats. I mean, because they enjoy raising them and breeding them, and I think that would be a good opportunity for me to get started if I were to lease the herd. So they would make the herd available to me for, say, March through October of each year, and then I would take the herd back to them so that they could winter with them, and I would basically be moving them around to different properties all summer, like every 3 to 5 days.
Do you have any other livestock?
I raise horses.
What kind?
I have paint horses,
Uh-huh.
but I also board other people's horses on my property, so that's a passion of mine. It's kind of a hobby, so this would kind of supplement that.
Hi, I'm Joe Mishka of Rural Heritage Magazine. I'm on location of one of the many events we cover that celebrates our rural heritage. If you enjoy our show, check out our magazine, where you'll learn more about the people that blend the past with what works today. You can save almost 20% off the newsstand price by subscribing at ruralheritage.com or chat with us at 877-647-2452. That's toll-free, 877-647-2452.
I have 16 acres right here on the outside of Ames. It's extremely hilly. We have a pond, and we've got some really rough terrain and some oak savanna that has just blended into the woods. I like to live right on the edge of the woods, but we enjoy the woods. We have 2 boys now grown, and they grew up in the creek and the pond just behind the house in the woods, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So we like to live with a manicured lawn and that type of thing that just blends right on into the oak savanna. I tried for several years to keep the honeysuckle at bay, cutting and using Tordon RTU, and frankly, it's a lot of work and it just didn't work. So I tried goats on the go, especially on the hilly areas that were harder to maintain, and oh my gosh, they're just like lawn mowers. They come in and they do such a good job. The grass from the savanna has now closed back in on a lot of that, and I've just had to go in and nip off a few of the breakthroughs. But Goats on the Go has been fantastic. I highly recommend it, especially for those people that want to eliminate and use less of the pesticide where they don't need to, and it's a lot easier on your back. Oh, I've got neighbors all around me, and they didn't care that I used the pesticide, but they frankly want me to have Goats on the Go come back because they brought their grandkids and they looked at them over the fence. We had people stop and had a lot of people really supporting that from not just an environmental standpoint, but it sure looks cute. They're a lot of fun to watch, and I just cannot believe how much they will eat in such a short period of time. They eat poison ivy. They eat things with prickly stickers all over them that stick to my pants when I'm out there trying to do the Tordon. And I've got a pond down there with a hillside that there's no way I can maintain. I mean, I would need rappelling equipment to really hang on. And the Goats on the Go, they're in there, and they mowed that hillside off. And the grass came back, and the honeysuckle hasn't come back in 2 years.
When we started Goats on the Go, we wanted to be really authentic about who we are and why Goats on the Go fits us, meaning the Steele and Steenhook families, and be doing something that we really valued. And you just can't separate our faith from the business. And so that is something that we hope is expressed in the way we treat our customers and in the work we do. We try not to get too full of ourselves about saving the world or anything with goats or tackling some huge environmental challenge, but we do think that what we're doing is a small but meaningful way to care for the earth, and that we are just temporary caretakers of this place, and that what we do with this gift, what we do with this blessing of the earth we live on, reflects our attitude towards God. And so we just hope that that is expressed in everything we do to the best of our abilities, and the way we treat our customers, and the way we apply the goats, and the goals we have in mind. So that's what we try to be about. Chad and I started this business part-time on top of our other jobs, and it's of course a seasonal business, at least here in Iowa, because we have to graze during the growing season. And yet we've just been real pleased with the results and the response of people, and we're excited about telling other people about the opportunity to be a Goats on the Go affiliate. You know, that it can be a part-time job, it can be great for that farm kid who's finished college and gone to a desk job but just wants to keep his or her roots back in farm life. You know, it doesn't take a lot of land, it doesn't require you to go into debt to be farming, in a sense, and to have that connection to agriculture still, even though you may not be able to do it full time. So we just think folks like that, college kids, former farm or ranch kids, teachers, and just folks who want something extra on top of their current income. Maybe even a related business like a landscaping business or a forestry business or something like that for an additional income stream. I think Goats on the Go is just a great opportunity. So. The Energizer uses a solar panel to charge 2 batteries inside the box, and so when we've got an overcast day like this or at nighttime, it's mostly running off of the batteries. We're really pleased with the equipment we use. We have a partnership with a company. We're actually a dealer for Premier One Supplies, which is right here in Iowa and pretty well known around the country. And we use their fencing and energizers, and we're really happy with them. And so even on an overcast day like today, or even a string of overcast days, we've had pretty good luck with that equipment. I've described the shock from these fences as, imagine when you're a kid and you're shuffling around the house in your socks in the winter and you touch the doorknob. Think of the worst one of those you've ever had, and that's about what touching this fence is like. It's a momentary pulse. It's not a constant flow of electricity, and goats, once they touch it, become really well conditioned to it in a hurry, and it takes quite a bit of tempting to get them to mess with the fence. This is really a horrible way to raise goats. You know, it's stressful. It can be stressful. There's more risk. You know, when you're putting electric fence and live animals in interaction with the public, you know, you always worry about what can go wrong. Plus the extra driving and that sort of thing all make it not a very good idea for just feeding goats. But together, feeding goats and providing a valuable service that has real conservation benefits, bundle that all up, and then you have something.
Is there a schedule of pricing that you have, or is it pretty much an estimate every case by case? Is this something you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. All of our affiliates are independently owned businesses, so they develop their own pricing structures and charge what they like. But when we first started, we thought our customers would want to pay by the goat, by the day. So they might choose 10 goats for 5 days, or they might choose 20 goats for a few days, just based on their budgets and what they needed done. And what we found is that was really kind of confusing to the customer. And so we have very quickly started charging by the acre. And we have a pretty good handle on things now. We can look at a property and know fairly quickly how much that project is going to cost and how quickly we can get the project done. So we have it boiled down to a pretty simple per acre cost now. And our pricing structure differs depending on whether we're doing a project under 10 acres or over 10 acres. When we go over 10 acres, we go into large project mode and use a lot more goats, hire a commercial hauler. It's just logistically a completely different thing, but because it's a longer project and we're committed to one customer longer, we can bring the price down per acre considerably.
Oh yeah, you got to get that on picture. you got to show the camera.
Oh, can't see it over. No goats no more.
Thanks for joining us today at Rural Heritage on RFD TV, where we borrow from yesterday to do the work of today.
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.